Welcome to Fireside Chats with Sarah Bell. As you can see, there is no fire, but we will be chatting. So today we're going to take a step out of the wild and look at a little bit of the history of natural history. Historically, there were not a lot of female naturalists before the 20th century. I mean, you look back to even the 19th century and there were less than 100 well-known female naturalists. So that's why I was so excited when I picked this book up, The Great Naturalists, that goes from the 1500s all the way to the 1900s, and discusses famous naturalists. And to my great surprise, there were 2 female naturalists in there. Now, I wasn't surprised because there were only 2. I was surprised because 2. That's kind of, women naturalists, there wasn't a lot. So the fact that even 2 great female naturalists were mentioned in this book is really exciting to me. And one of them happens to be one of my favorite naturalists, Maria Sibyl Merian. Maria Sibyl Merian was a natural illustrator and naturalist and one of the first entomologists. She was one of the first illustrators to actually capture insects in natural-ish settings. So she wouldn't just draw a picture of a caterpillar, she'd draw a picture of a caterpillar eating a leaf that this caterpillar would most likely be eating in the wild. And in her drawings, she focused heavily on metamorphosis. So she'd feature a caterpillar, a chrysalis, and a butterfly all in the same drawing. This was kind of very revolutionary for naturalists and natural history illustrations at the time, where people were actually able to get a sense of what these creatures were doing other than sitting on a white page. Not to mention they were beautifully colored and very, very detailed. Maria Merian was born in 1647 and died in 1717. And in about 1708, I believe, she traveled to Suriname, which is a country in northern South America, to study tropical flora and fauna. And she spent 21 months before being sent home because she was too ill with malaria to continue on, and came out with this incredible book on the insects of Suriname that was one of the first real accounts that people could actually get to see what these plants and animals looked like and how they interacted together in their environment. Now, the second and last female naturalist mentioned in this book is Mary Anning, the Princess of Paleontology. And there's actually a short little poem in here that was written about Miss Anning that I think is quite funny. If I can find it. Oh, monkey. All the way in the back here. Mary Anning, Fossil Hunter, 1799 to 1847. Miss Anning, as a child, ne'er passed a pin upon the ground, but picked it up, and so at last an ichthyosaurus found. By J.W. Preston, 1884. That's not fantastic, I don't know what is. So, Miss Mary Anning was from a very poor family. Her father was a cabinet maker and collected strange rocks as a hobby until he died when Mary was 5 years old. She'd go out and collect these strange rocks, later to be known as fossils. Now, during Mary Anning's life, it was sort of the beginning of the concept of deep time and the beginning of the understanding of what fossils actually were. Some people thought that they were creatures grown out of rocks, or maybe animals buried during the Great Flood. Mary Anning actually helped pull her family out of poverty by finding and selling fossils. She became a very well-known player in the scientific community at this time, though unfortunately, as the tale often goes with women, Only 2 of her discoveries were named after her. Most of them were named after the people who bought them from her. Now, my favorite fact about Mary Anning is that her family actually attributed her wit to the fact that she was struck by lightning at 15 months of age. She was described as being slow and dim before the incident, and afterwards was lively and inquisitive. She was actually being held by a nurse when they were both struck by lightning, this incident killing the nurse and supposedly giving Mary her sharp mind. Which is fairly improbable, but quite fascinating nonetheless, that this brilliantly intelligent woman had to have a reason, like being struck by lightning, to be so intelligent. But anyways, this just kind of goes to show that women had a great contribution in the history of natural history, and they go mostly unmentioned, and that's why I was so excited when I found this book that actually discussed 2 very famous, very incredible naturalists. One of which I knew of and one of which I'd never heard of, which is interesting because I actually took several classes on the history of anthropology and archaeology during my undergraduate career, and Mary Anning's name I cannot recall ever hearing. But I mean, it's hard to forget Marion and her fantastic drawings. I mean, like, you know, she's just like, she drew a lot of pineapples, you know, and I can really respect someone who draws pineapples. Have you ever tried to draw a pineapple? There's a lot of detail in pineapples. I mean, there's a lot of details in butterflies as well, but, you know. I mean, look at that. Look at that. It's a beautiful pineapple. We have a lot to thank these and countless other women and scientists for. I mean, science would not be what it is today without famous women, from Marie Curie to Rosalind Franklin, Jane Goodall to Marion and Mary Anning, to early great naturalists. And so it's important to remember that, you know, your sex shouldn't define what you are capable of, and the world should be able to be more accepting of female scientists. So that's all on wild learning this time around. Maybe next time we'll get to see something outside, wild, I don't know. I feel like something to do with the Amazon might be coming up, but we'll just have to wait and see. So, subscribe. I'm pointing through the air and hoping that I will figure out how to put a box like here, so people can click on it. But YouTube baffles me at this point, so we'll see what happens. Have a great day and stay wild.